Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Rabe Creations Crochet Podcast number 49. I'd like to take this opportunity to say hello to everybody who is a returning viewer. Welcome back. It's good to see you again. It's been 2 weeks since my last podcast. Well, my last crochet podcast. For anyone new here, hello. It's so nice to see you. If you do like what you see here, remember to hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, share me with your friends if you'd like. Yeah, all the things. Let me see. I should tell you, my name's Nicole, just in case you don't know. And I'm coming to you from Calgary, Alberta, here in Canada, where I live with my husband, Barry, and my wonderful, beautiful rescued Rottweiler named Grace, who is laying right there in the hallway. So you may hear her at some point in this podcast. How's everyone doing? Crazy times. Crazy, crazy, crazy times. Quick little life update. My husband, Barry, is still working from home, which is great. He's not having to go into the office every day, so it's keeping us isolated, staying home and staying safe. He's finding it a little bit of a challenge to do the work from home, just because the distractions of home are there, but he's doing really well at it. And luckily we are set up in this house in such a way that, he can be downstairs in his office and I'm up here in my craft studio, and we each have our own space. And I think that's why it's working. It would be much more difficult if, the office and the living room, say, were the same space and the space that we both had to use all the time. But alas, that is not the case, and things are working out quite well. Yeah, we've been on lockdown here in Calgary for over 2 weeks now, going on to 3 weeks. And there is no end in sight. Estimates are anywhere from weeks to months. So we're just playing it day by day and hoping for the best, like everyone else, right? I hope you're all staying safe. Luckily, no sickness has hit my family, or my extended family. Fingers crossed. My oldest son, Justin, his wife actually works at the airport, which is a bit of a scary scenario. She is a screener, so she screens passengers going on and off flights. So she is definitely one of those frontline workers we're hearing so much about, but so far so good. She's stayed nice and safe. My youngest son, Riley, his wife, Dayton, will be having a baby. That's my grandbaby coming. But she is no longer working, which is a good thing. She is on a disability right now because of the pregnancy, and she did a high-risk job that involved working with special needs children. So she's on disability until she goes on to maternity leave, so she's taken care of, and that's wonderful. Both my boys are working, and they're doing good, so, fingers crossed, everything's good here. I hope everything is good with y'all out there. If not, if you need somebody to talk to, make sure you're reaching out. Make sure you're taking care of you, and taking care of each other. My message on this podcast is always to choose kindness and to be kind to one another. And that should definitely be something that we're all doing right now. All right. Shall we get into some crochet? I'll admit there hasn't been a lot. It's not that I've lost my crojo or anything like that. I'm just finding myself digging into long-term projects. Blankets. For some reason, I have been on a blanket frenzy. Maybe because it's the blankets that I'm working on that I'm going to show you tend to be a little bit mindless, so I can just sit and crochet, not have to think about it too much, while I watch the Prime Minister every day does a speech, followed by members of cabinet who sort of update us on what's going on. I've taken to watching the actual speeches and whatnot before it's filtered through the media. And I find that I get a much truer picture of what's happening than if I'm just relying on news media to tell me what they interpret happening. So that's what I've been doing. And while I'm watching that, I'm crocheting away. And that's my mornings. And then in the afternoons and evenings, it's on to YouTube, watching all the crochet and knitting podcasts that I subscribe to, all the cross stitch, the floss tube that I subscribe to. So that sort of fills up my afternoons. And then my husband and I have actually been spending quite a bit of time together in the evenings watching movies. So that's good too. Yeah, so I haven't been working on a lot. I do have one finished to show you and 2 works in progress. So I am just going to pause quickly and I'll be right back with those pieces to show you some crochet on the hook. Woohoo! All right. So last week I did show you a little hat and booty set that I was working on. And I'm happy to say that it is finished. And this is for that grandbaby that I already referenced once. You'll hear a lot of reference to grandbaby. So this is the little hat, and I did show that last week. All of the ends are now woven in, and it is completely ready to go. And last week I showed you that I was also working on a set of booties to go with that hat, and they are now both complete. So last week one was done with strings hanging out. Now both are done with no strings hanging out. So they are ready to go. They will go from here, where I'm showing you, into the basket of things that I am getting together for the baby's much anticipated arrival. So those will go into the basket with the gray sweater and the blanket and all of the things that I am making for the much anticipated arrival. So yeah, I talked in length last podcast about these. I'm quite happy with the way that they turned out. I will link the book in which these patterns are found down below in the description. But yeah, the yarn is from Sheep Happens for this yellow color, and Stranded Dyeworks for the gray. And yeah, quite pleased with this little set. It is all wool. It's actually a superwash merino, but being superwash, it is washable, so will not cause any undue stress to the new parents. It is super soft. It is not itchy at all. It is very easy to be worn next to the skin. And being wool, it is extremely warm. So yeah, I'm quite pleased with that little set. All right, so moving on to the things I have been working on. And I am going to start with this because we talked briefly about this last time as I was just starting it. So this is the granny square blanket that I was talking about, how I am doing up little itty bitty granny squares and working them into one big blanket. So I have decided upon the size of the blanket. As it turns out, in order to make the blanket the size that I need it to be, it's going to be 15 squares across and 18 squares down. And do that math. That's 270 squares. I'll say that again. That's 270 squares. Am I crazy? Perhaps just a little. The good news is these little squares are super easy to make. I am just doing them out of scraps and leftovers, so it's a great scrap buster. Here is what the little squares look like. So it is just a basic, 2 rows of a basic granny square. There is no rhyme or reason to any of the color combinations. I am just picking out 2 different colors and working them together. Actually, that's a bit of a lie. I work all of the tiny little centers first, and then when I have 50 or 60 of those, I start adding on the exteriors. So as you can see, there's a variety of colors. There's a variety of, combinations. It is all being done in number 4 weight yarn. but no planning of color combinations. I am just sort of reaching in and grabbing what's there. So I think ultimately this is going to be amazing. So last week I had said I wasn't sure what color I am going to attach them all together. So eventually each of these squares is going to get one more row of a color, but it's all going to be the same color. And that's what's going to bind them all together. And then there will probably end up being a border of some sort, even if it's just a single crochet, a couple of rows of single crochet around the outside of the blanket. Again, in that same color that every square is going to have its third and final round in. I still have not firmly decided upon a color, although someone did suggest like an antique white color, and that might be kind of nice to pull it all together. I've seen them done in black. Debbie, the Canadian crocheter, has one in a beautiful, bordered in a beautiful black color, bigger squares, but all bordered together in black, and that looks wonderful too. But I think that what I will end up doing is just taking, going to the store and finding a color I like. Because the blanket is so colorful anyway, it doesn't necessarily have to be a neutral that ties it all together. Just as long as it's all one color, I think it'll work. So yeah, I think once I've got all the squares together, I'm just going to go and pick out one single color I like, grab a couple of balls of it, and go from there. Now, when will that be? I don't know, because when you do the math, I need 270 of these little squares. Then I have to border them all a final time, and then I have to attach them all together. So this is definitely a long-term project. It may be one that gets put away and come back out again, put away and come back out again. As I finish other projects, I'm going to be able to use up my scraps. So far I have 44 out of the 270 squares complete. So I am nowhere near completing this blanket. Perhaps by the end of our lockdown, this will be done. And if so, then it will be the COVID-19 blanket, and we'll have all kinds of bittersweet memories tied to it. So that's where I'm at in the Granny Square blanket. And the next thing I started was kind of inspired by a few things. So a friend of mine is about to have her first grandbaby as well. In fact, her grandbaby, today is April 2nd, and her grandbaby is due at the beginning of May. So, of course, all things like traditional baby showers are off. Can't be having them, right? So she is hosting a virtual baby shower, which I thought was a brilliant idea. So she has invited friends and family to attend her daughter's virtual baby shower. They've posted sort of their wish list from Amazon and whatnot. But of course, because I'm a maker, I contacted her and said, look, would you mind if I dropped off a gift? We live not too far away from each other. I could bring it to your doorstep and you know, we could do it that way. And she's all for that. So I started looking around, and I do have some baby blankets in my inventory, so I may go that route. But then I looked at my stash, because I haven't been doing any shopping at all. Obviously the stores like Michael's, the big box stores, where I would get the majority of my project yarn from, they're closed. Now there is the ability to order online and do curbside pickup, but I don't know about you, but I, here in Canada anyway, really struggle with Michael's webpage. It's not great. Product I know is in stores doesn't even show up on their webpage. So, you know, it's just not a great time to be trying to do any shopping. So I've been doing a lot of stash diving. And I did have a number, or I still do have a number of the Sheepies Whirls in my collection. So I started working on a blanket, and it is, I was just going through looking for lace weight blankets, lace weight crochet blankets, just to get inspired. And I saw one by Blossom Crochet that I really liked. It's a basic square, in a granny, but I won't call it a basic granny. It's a split granny. So it's 2 sides of the granny are in traditional granny and 2 sides are in solid granny. And then it's every 4 rows that switches. So let me hold it up and show it to you. First, I'll tell you that this colorway is called Tasty Nom Nom. It is a Sepia swirl, so it is 60% cotton and 40% acrylic. There is 1,000 meters, and I am just going until it's all used up. This is what I have left, and this is the blanket. Now, I will definitely insert a picture at the end of the video and show you a better picture. Let me just put a stitch marker on here so I don't lose my working loop. I'll show you a better picture of the entire blanket, but here it is. Oh my goodness, the crochet hook's hanging from it. There it is. So I love this blanket. Now I'll start out here and I'll go across. And I love the gradient that these Sepia swirl cakes have. I think it's one of the best gradients out there. It definitely does a gradual color change because of the way the yarn is plied. It's plied so that the yarn changes color 1 strand at a time. So I believe it's a 6-stranded ply. So there's 6 little strands of yarn all wound together. And as it goes, it changes out the color 1 strand at a time. So, you know, you go from having 6 of one color to 5 of one and 1 of the other. And then it gradually switches over so that it's a gradual color change, and I really love it. I think it's beautiful. It creates great lace weight projects. If you've been with me for a while, you remember the shawl I made for my son's wedding was made in a Sepia swirl as well. Super soft, great yarn to work with. I love working with this yarn as well. So as you can see, or I hope you can see, the way that the pattern is it's 4 rows of solid granny, and then 4 rows of traditional granny, and then solid and traditional, but they're opposite. So these 2 sides, and then the top and the bottom are always the same, but they rotate every 4 rows, and the sides are the same, but rotate every 4 rows, and they're opposite each other. I hope that makes sense. I will link the tutorial to this down below. It's not difficult once you, if you know how to do the 2 different grannies, you won't even need the tutorial. I just thought that this looked so elegant, so delicate. I just love it. I just absolutely love it. And I should say that I am working with a 2.75 millimeter needle. Now, I know that's not everybody's jam, working with the thin yarns. I just really love the weight of this blanket. I think it's beautiful for a nursing blanket, you know, just something to cover up with, or, you know, yeah, for newborn baby pictures, they're going to be beautiful. So I have a couple of different colorways. So maybe one of these blankets will be my gift for my friend's baby shower. We shall see. All right. Those are the projects that I have to share with you today. I am going to step away for one moment, make sure I still have room on that video card, and be back to wish you all adieu. So hold on for 1 second. All right, so that's about, as I said, all I have to share with you today. Blanket projects tend to take a little bit longer. They're not quite as quick to bang out, but you know, I think I've made really good progress on both of them. What are you guys working on? Let me know down below. Let's take some inspiration from each other. Maybe one of you is working on something that I would be interested in. Yeah, let me know what you're working on down below. What else can we talk about? Well, the weather here is horrible. It's been snowing all week, so, you know, even though Easter is just around the corner, and Easter is going to be weird this year because nobody can get together, so it's just going to be a very odd next couple of months. So remember to keep reaching out to each other. Remember to take time for yourself. But don't pressure yourself either. There's been a lot of you know, communications out there via social media saying, now's the time to, get all those things done that you wanted to get done and, write a book or learn a new language. Oh my goodness, talk about pressure. Some of us are just getting by. And if that's one of you, if you're one of those people who's just getting by, so be it. If you're finding time to do an extra project, that's great too. But, this pressure to, use this time wisely, forget it. Let's just do what we need to do to get through this. Speaking of which, let's do what we need to do to get through this. We know that we all need to stay home, to, self-isolate, to keep our distance between us and other people. That social distancing, that physical distancing is so very important. I really want this to be over, and the only way it's going to be over is if we all are responsible and we all do what the public health officials are telling us to do. They're not telling us to go out and hoard toilet paper. They're not telling us to go out and hoard vitamin C. For the love of God, now there's no vitamin C on the shelves because somebody somewhere decided to tell people that vitamin C was going to cure them. Let's be real, people. It amazes me, the reactions that people have to situations like this. But see, there I go on into another tangent again. When all I wanted to say was take care of each other. Choose kindness. Choosing kindness at this time is something as simple as smiling at people. We know that we can't get close to each other, but if you're out there walking and you're keeping that 6-foot distance between you and somebody else who's walking, let's just smile at them. And remember that not everyone who coughs or sneezes right now has this virus. There are lots of reasons why people might be coughing and sneezing. Allergies, there's also the common cold that could be out there too. Like there's lots of reasons why people might have a cough or might be sneezing. Please don't make people feel guilty for coughing. I know we're all worried, but let's be kind. Let's choose kindness in all things. I know it's been a short one. Hopefully next catch up will be a little bit longer. Take care of yourselves. Until next time, we'll see you later. Bye now.